Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I am here with episode 14 of my Halloween horror movie review series, and that is for Stephen King's The Mist. Now, I will say that I definitely do love The Mist. It's actually a very good horror flick for a horror film released in the 2000s, and definitely one of the few underrated Stephen King horror movies of all time, or movie adaptations of all time, and it actually really shows here. Like, what's this film about? Well, after a powerful storm damages the main home, David, played by Thomas Jane, aka The Punisher, and his young son, Billy, head into town with their neighbor to gather food and supplies. Soon afterward, a thick fog rolls in and engulfs the town, trapping the Draytons and others in the store. Terror mounts as deadly creatures reveal themselves outside, but that may be nothing compared to the threat within where a religious zealot, played by Marcia Gay Harden, calls for a sacrifice. This movie is very faithful to the 1980s Stephen King book, especially considering it's from the director of The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile himself, Frank Darabont, who also would go on to be the former creator of the show The Walking Dead. It's got some very decent acting. The main character David's known to draw movie posters or paint movie posters, and they're even well drawn too, and it really shows it. And that's got a very scary setting. Some very memorable characters, especially the aforementioned main ones. A lot of decent pacing. Plus, Billy's actually a very cute character for a kid in a horror movie. And of course, once again, some excellent directing from Frank Darabont. And let me clarify, guys. Frank Darabont is actually is known to be one of Stephen King's favorite directors, as he directed one of my favorite movies of all time, which is The Shawshank Redemption. And another one of my favorite movies of all time, which is The Green Mile. If I had this last movie I've ever watched, and yes, guys, it's sadder than Titanic. But now, what else is so good about this movie? That the CGI mist creators did terrify many audiences, much like King Kong and Jaws, and most of the death scenes are even very terrifying. Now that if there is something to be known about, this movie actually wasn't supposed to be in color. In fact, it was actually supposed to be in black and white. He wanted it to be like a 60s monster movie, in a way. But then, of course, the Weinstein Company was like, no, you need to release it in color, otherwise people won't go see it. So, to be fair, not very many people went and saw it anyway. Like, it didn't really make much money at the box office, and at the time it wasn't really well liked by audiences, but it's kind of grown somewhat better over the years, and has somewhat grown kind of a cult following among horror fans and Stephen King fans. And also, other like well-acted, annoying, and terrifying characters of the film would be, of course, Marcia Gay Harden's character, Miss Carmody. Now, don't know, she's basically the main human. This religious nut who's also trapped in a store with them actually decided to thinking that sacrifices will call off the creatures. Thankfully, she finally does meet her end, which she actually tries to call for the kid to be murdered. And then after that, she's straight up killed by his store manager, Ollie. And that's actually still one of the best horror deaths to most hated horror movie characters in history. And again, another thing with Darabont, he's known to add so many hateable characters in the Stephen King movies he directs, and he gives them good comic punches. Like The Shawshank Redemption had Iron Hadley and Warden Norton. The Green Mile had Wild Bill and Percy Whitmore. This movie had Miss Carmody. It's kind of like a very interesting pattern. And now maybe the bad quality is that maybe some think the ending is a little baffling because, well, technically the ending in the book, they basically it's more ambiguous how it ends with the book. Like, in the book, they escape the store and they just drive off to an unknown future, and that's just it for the story. But here, I'm going to get into spoilers, guys, so if you haven't seen the movie, I maybe wouldn't watch this video until you've seen the movie, but I'm going to get into spoiler, guys, in 3, 2, 1. The ending in this movie is actually extended. They come across his old home, David finds his wife dead, and so they just keep driving. Eventually their car runs out of gas, and they start to realize they're probably not going to escape the creatures. So this part's going to get a little depressing, guys. He loads a pistol with enough bullets to kill off the whole group, and so basically who he has with him is his son, this other woman he meets in the store, and these two elderly people who are also with them are the only ones left of his group. So basically he shoots all 4 of them, but he's now out of bullets before he can shoot himself. So he goes out of his car, waits for the creatures to kill him, but he doesn't see the creatures, but he hears this big noise in the distance, thinks it's one of the creatures, but much to his shock, it's actually an army tank. Yep, the army cleared out the mist, they're destroying the creatures in the mist, and all the survivors, including this one mother who actually left the store, who's, by the way, guys, has one scene that she's actually, believe it or not, played by Carol from The Walking Dead, actually has also been evacuated safely with them and got to her kids in time. David just stares in disbelief, he just drops his knees, and he just screams in tears. And it's actually still a very beautiful ending for a horror film. Even Stephen King himself has said he prefers this ending. And definitely, probably it's even one of the most heartbreaking endings of all time. All time for a horror movie, really. Just a very depressing general, but a lot of people hate this ending because they just think it's too sad. Because they prefer the book ending where it just ends ambiguous, really. Now, eventually in 2017, 10 years after the movie, it got a TV series, which isn't even anything like the book, but I'm not going to talk about that. But all in all, just in short, The Mist is actually a good film in my opinion, and I definitely, the black and white version specifically is very good. I definitely would check out The Mist if you're a horror fan. It's actually good for a Stephen King horror film, and here's how it ranks. I am going to rate The Mist a 7.5 out of 10. Well, guys, that pretty much wraps up my review for The Mist, and yeah, but now what's the next movie I am going to be reviewing? Well, this seems a little weird for my next horror movie review because, well, I don't really consider this a horror movie per se, but it's got some horror elements in it, and I'm just going to show it. For episode 15, next Halloween horror movie review, yep, it's going to be for Blade, Wesley Snipes. Again, I would talk about that. First, I'm going to be talking about a comic book film in my horror movie reviews. So, stay tuned for that, guys. Anyway, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Movie Lover 120.